On today's Primetime Local News, provincial pronoun policies draw large crowds to Lloydminster City Hall. And the Lakeland Rustlers women's hockey team now has a new name thanks to a new sponsor. Plus, local students get their hands dirty transforming their outdoor classroom into a food forest.
Prime Time Local News, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
I'm Jace Mackey. Thank you for joining us. City Hall in Lloydminster was host to a protest this morning regarding Saskatchewan's recent policy on gender pronouns in schools.
These bureaucrats, this faceless organization, wanting new servants of state.
Over 200 people gathered at City Hall in support of the policy Saskatchewan put into place that children under the age of 16 need parental consent to change their pronouns. Under the banner 1 Million March for Children, their main goal is to support children against premature sexualization.
I hope that they take away that everybody is one and the same. We're all humans. And I hope that they take away that this is not about LGBTQ rights. This is not about hating on the LGBTQ community. We have many organizations of the LGBTQ across Canada that are involved in this.
This gathering sparked a divide in the community, bringing counter-protesters to fight the policy. They are advocating that children should have school as a safe space.
Not all children have a safe space at home, and some children go to school and that is their safe space. It's statistically proven that if children are more accepted in school and they have that sense of belonging, then the rate of suicide and suicide ideation decreases. And trans youth and queer youth are at an increased risk of violence, of harm, of suicide ideation. So it is important for us to show up today for them.
Now, protests like this have been going on across Canada today, with crowds gathering in Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal, among other cities. Back here in Lloydminster, downtown's newest mural has finally been completed. Our Callan Dunlop has more on the new art to hit the city.
A mural in downtown Lloydminster, focusing on reconciliation, is live for all Lloydminster residents to see. The team behind the mural is proud of everything they put into this project.
I'm just so grateful to the Lloydminster Region Health Foundation for believing in this project from the beginning and how it all turned out. And our beautiful team, we had such a beautiful team install this project. And that was part of the energy. So we're all really lucky to have such a beautiful community here in Lloydminster.
It was through the contributions from the Lloydminster Region Health Foundation, as well as other donations, to make this possible. With the mural highlighting reconciliation, a lot of thought was put into the mural itself.
If you look closely at the mural, you'll see the Métis symbol, you'll see the medicine wheel, you'll see different pieces of all different Indigenous cultures. So it was really a learning process for so many people, and I'm so honored to have been a part of it.
The Choose Love and Join Hands in Truth and Reconciliation mural is located on the north side of the Prairie North Plaza. Callan Dunlop, Primetime, Local News.
Learning about something is one thing, but getting your hands dirty can take that education to the next level. In this week's Beyond the Classroom, we take you to E.S. Laird Middle School as students plant a food forest. It's not a typical school day for these E.S. Laird students. They've traded in pencils and paper for shovels and dirt. Thanks to a partnership with Synovis, these students are turning their outdoor classroom into a food forest.
Not just bringing in foliage and different plants, but ones that actually produce, so you can have a harvest, and then use that in the school for whatever the school would like to use it for.
Synovis ended up bringing the school a wider variety of fruits than expected.
We have apples, plums, cherries, gooseberries, strawberries, raspberries, and blueberries, and some grapes. Get your hands dirty and do whatever you can do.
In the lead up to today, students learned about plants, how to care for them, and how they can be utilized. Now, all grades have the chance to help plant the forest and put what they learned to the test.
Learning the theory of something is great, it gets us the knowledge, but doing the hands-on practical, those are the moments that tend to stick with us more because you're actually doing it, you're involved in it, and as you can see behind, the students are absolutely loving it right now.
Planting this forest may have only taken a day, but its impact will last for years.
And these students will be able to come back and, hey, I planted that tree, I helped make that, and see how different it is after 3 years, 10 years.
I hope there'll be like really tall trees and lots of plants flourishing.
That's it for this week's Beyond the Classroom.
Experience learning in action at the Lakeland College Open House on October 20th and 21st at our Lloydminster and Vermilion campuses.
How crazy is that? I know you're saying that would traumatize you if you ever had to find that cat in there.
Absolutely. Like I said,
Yeah.
because of how paranoid I am, if that happened to me, I would be checking under my hood every single time before I drive, no matter what. Because I'd always be like, I have to just make sure. I have
Yeah.
to double check, because that would be absolutely traumatizing. I'm so glad the kitten's fine.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
After going through that ride and being in that small space, like it can
Yeah.
get warm in there, I'm glad nothing went wrong, and it's hopefully going to have a good home with whoever adopts it.
Yes, I agree, and hopefully he does find a forever home.
And pivoting over to weather now, you told us it wasn't going to be as nice today as it was earlier in the week, and I guess you delivered even though it wasn't the best news. A gloomy day today.
Yes, pretty gloomy day out, a little bit more on the chillier side at 14 degrees, which for this time of year, it's normal. It's more fall-ish weather. Yeah, we still don't like it for sure. You're right, but we have been very lucky for this summer season, especially it's starting early and it's still going despite those couple of days here and there, but we definitely did have a gloomy day, a little bit chillier at 14 degrees, and that wind was a little bit windy at 13 kilometers per hour, but across the region, similar temperatures, a little bit higher than what we're sitting at, and a few spots that are lower. 13 in Wainwright and Cold Lake, 14 also in Marwayne and in Provost, 16 in Vermilion and Vegreville, and up in Lac La Biche, and then 17 in Bonnyville and St. Paul. Edmonton sitting at 15. And then taking a look on the Saskatchewan side, they're similar to what we're sitting at as well, where we've seen they've been a bit higher than what we're at the last couple of days. 14 in Macklin, 15 in Meadow Lake and Maidstone, 18 in North Battleford, 17 in Pierceland and St. Walburg, 19 in Isla Crosse and in Green Lake. And then overnight tonight in North Battleford, it'll be a little bit cloudy. The clouds will kind of roll in, but it will be quite chilly at only 2 degrees overnight tonight. So where it'll be a little bit clear, it's still going to be on the chillier side. And then tomorrow, right back up into the 20s at 21 degrees. Partially sunny skies, but it should be a nice, pleasant, warm day out. And then overnight tonight in Cold Lake, drop down to 1 degree, so almost hitting that 0 and below 0 mark. Mainly clear skies, a little bit of cloud coverage, but it will be quite chilly out. And then tomorrow, right back up to 19 degrees, and it should be a fairly sunny day out in Cold Lake, so that's always nice to look forward to. With that 19-degree high, it should be a fairly warm day out. And then overnight tonight here in Lloydminster, we should be fairly clear. The clouds will clear up overnight tonight with a low of just 4 degrees, so where it will be a little bit chilly, we'll still have those clear skies, which is always nice. And then tomorrow, mostly cloudy skies, but we will see that sun throughout the day with a high of 18, so that's always nice to look forward to. And then over the next 3 days here in Lloydminster, we'll have a low of 3 for tomorrow, and then on Friday, a little bit breezy of a day, but we'll be back up into the 20s at 22 for the daytime high, and a mix of sun and cloud. On Saturday, it will be a very sunny day, a little bit breezy like on Friday, but with a high of 21, it should be a fairly warm day out with a low of 8. And then we have another beautiful Bright Sand Lake photo from Greg Mercer. Thank you so much for continuing to send these photos in. This photo is absolutely gorgeous with that lake and those beautiful clouds of that sunset. So thank you so much again for delivering the perfect weather photo. And if you'd like to see your weather photos on our show, please submit them on our Facebook page at Pets and Weather Photos. And that is all for right now. We'll have more later on in the show.
You're right, Abby. Greg always delivers with those weather photos. Stay with us after the break. The latest after the PM made those bombshell accusations against India. Well, the Lakeland Rustlers women's hockey team revealed their new title sponsor for the 2023-24 season. Apex Automation will be the Rustlers' naming sponsor for their second season in the ACAC, where the team will go by the name the Lakeland College Apex Automation Rustlers.
It's pretty exciting. I mean, we really rely on a major sponsor, and to have a company step up and do something like that for us is something that we're super grateful, and words can't really describe how we feel about that because it's something that we just need, and it's awesome to have people like that who are willing to do something like that for a hockey team.
Apex Automation has been a supporter of women's hockey in Lloydminster for a number of years in the minor leagues.
We actually, got involved with the girls when they were, younger age, playing for the Steelers, I think around 7 or 8 years ago. And so we were just doing small sponsorships, what we could afford back then, and it was kind of, it's kind of special to kind of see them grow into women and who they are now and playing in college. I mean, 2 years ago when Lakeland decided to make a college team for them, we thought, wow, that's incredible. So they don't have to move away and go play in some of the colleges around Alberta or Saskatchewan. So.
Alongside Apex being part of the name for the team, there will be a Apex patch on the jerseys, as there will also be a celebration for Apex as the naming sponsor during their home opener. Now, yesterday we talked about how the Rough Riders need to do a better job stopping their opponent's run game. Well, they also need to do the same with their offense on the ground as well. As CTV's Britt Dort found out, Rider coaches say they've got the right players on the roster. It's just a matter of making sure they manage their Canadian ratio.
When it comes to running the ball, the Riders aren't getting off on the right foot. Only the BC Lions are averaging less yards on the ground per game.
I do feel like we've got a good run game. It's just for some reason we've had those 1 or 2 plays that are negative runs. So the emphasis this week, Brett, is basically let's eliminate the negative run plays. And if it's a bad run, it's a 3-yard run as opposed to a -2.
But trying to get the team's top running backs from last season on the roster at the same time has been a puzzle with the Canadian ratio, meaning Jamal Morrow has been the primary starter, while Frankie Hickson has been in and out of the lineup all season.
It's tough, yeah, because he's, first of all, a good football player, and I know he could help us. And he's a good dude too, but they only allow us to dress 45, and unfortunately it just hasn't worked out to be able to dress 2 American running backs.
It's been a struggle, and that's just being honest. It's been a struggle, but I view it now as only getting me stronger, and there were some things that I needed to take care of personally even, and maybe being able to step away from football for a second allowed me to take care of things that are, in my opinion, more important.
Who will be dressing at running back against Ottawa is still up in the air, as Jamal Morrow has yet to practice this week. But the team will be in tough no matter who they dress, as the Red Blacks are second in the league when it comes to stopping the run.
They're definitely stout. They're a bunch of guys who work hard. They're a bunch of guys who do their assignment, and they've got a good coaching staff out there in Ottawa as well.
Britt Dort, CTV News, Regina.
And now for another look at weather, let's check in with Abby St. John.
Thanks so much, Jace. Taking a look at current temperatures, it is 14 here in Lloydminster. Gloomy day out today, which is what we expected for today, but we've still been very lucky with the temperatures that we've gotten, so I'll take this. Today we'll have more sun tomorrow, so that's always nice to look forward to, but it was a gloomier day out today, a little bit more on the chillier side, which is expected for this time of year. Across the region, similar temperatures, a little bit lower, a little bit higher. 15 out in Athabasca and Edmonton, 13 in Whitecourt, 11 in Edson, Jasper sitting at 10, 9 in Rocky Mountain House, and 8 in Red Deer. And then taking a look on the Saskatchewan side, 18 in North Battleford, 20 in Saskatoon, 18 also out in Prince Albert and Melfort, and then Meadow Lake is sitting at 15 degrees. Up north in Saskatchewan, 12 in Uranium City, 18 in Stony Rapids and Wollaston Lake, 19 in Flin Flon and Buffalo Narrows and La Loche, and then 17 out in Southend. And then on the Alberta side, Fort Mac is sitting at 18 degrees, 14 in Slave Lake, 17 in Fort Chipewyan, and then 16 in High Level, Peace River, and Grand Prairie. And then taking a look down south in Alberta, 16 in Medicine Hat, 13 in Lethbridge, 11 in Coronation, 8 only in Calgary, and 7 out in Banff. And then on the Saskatchewan side, 16 in Kindersley, 17 in Swift Current, 22 in Moose Jaw, 20 in Yorkton, 21 in Regina, and 19 out in Estevan. And then overnight tonight in North Battleford, it will cool things off significantly down to 1 degrees. So it will be a chillier night, but there will only be a little bit of cloud coverage, so it should remain fairly clear out. And then tonight in Cold Lake will also drop down to 1 degrees, mainly clear skies, but it will be on the chillier side. And then overnight across the region, similar to what we're seeing here and across, 1 degrees in Meadow Lake and Bonnyville, 2 in Provost, 7 in Isle Cross, and 2 also out in Paradise Hill. A little bit more cloud coverage in some of the areas, and then Provost is remaining quite clear out. And then more overnight temperatures, 2 in Mearnum, 1 degrees in Pierceland and Wainwright, and 3 in Unity and Calgary. A little bit of cloud coverage is similar to what we are seeing. And then overnight tonight here in Lloydminster, we will remain fairly clear out and we'll only be at 4 degrees. So a little bit chilly, but our skies will remain clear overnight tonight. And then over the next 7 days, a high of 18 and a low of 3. For tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds. So we'll have a little bit more sun than we saw today, which is always nice to see. And then we jump right back up into the 20s with 22 as your daytime high on Friday and a low of 8. With a mix of sun and cloud, but it will remain mostly sunny. And then on Saturday, expect a very sunny day, a little bit breezy, but with a high of 21, it should feel quite warm with a low of 8. And then on Sunday, a mix of sun and cloud throughout the day with a high of 20 and a low of 7. On Monday, to start your week back up, mix of sun and cloud as well with a high of 22 and a low of 9. On Tuesday, expect about a 55% chance of some showers in the morning with a high of 23 and a low of 7. However, the sun should peak out throughout the afternoon. And then on Wednesday, a little bit more sun than what we will see on Tuesday with a mix of sun and cloud with a high of 18 and a low of 9. That is a look at your 7-day forecast. Our Jace Mackey will have more news coming up after the break.
Special guest today on Primetime Local News. Cornelius Cron is with me. Cornelius is with the Lloydminster Little Theatre. You are directing a play that's coming up here. Cornelius, first of all, thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, let's talk about this play. It sounds super exciting and based on true events?
It is based on true events. The play is called How Could You, Mrs. Dick by Douglas Roger. He was a former reporter in the Hamilton area. This is a real story that happened in Hamilton, Ontario in the 1940s. A torso was discovered on the side of the mountain. They call it the mountain, it's more of a hill, but a torso was discovered, and what they do is they figure out who the torso belongs to, and then trace that back to the gentleman's wife, and the play is about the investigation and the court proceedings.
Kind of a macabre story, but also very interesting, and especially because of the fact it was based on an event that happened. So why did you choose this one?
It is a play that I was familiar with. I happened to be in it when I was much younger in my former community, and we were approached to do a play, and so given that it was the end of October, we thought a macabre story would be apropos.
So tell me about the cast. You have everybody together and everybody that you need so far?
Yes, we had a little bit of a hiccup with our casting, but we are fully casted, and we have been rehearsing actively for the past couple weeks. We have 5 gentlemen and 3 women, which in theater is a little bit difficult to cast in community theater, but we were able to fill those roles, which was fantastic. We have a college teacher, we have some classroom teachers, we have former reporter here, Jerry Lampow, is in the cast as well. So we have a wide variety of individuals.
Well, if people aren't involved in theater, I'm not sure if they know quite about how much work goes into these plays, the performances. You have to get the costumes, the sets, everything. So you must have a big crew, volunteers and such that help as well?
Right now we're focused on the actors. I have myself as the director, and I have a fantastic stage manager. And so right now it's just us, but in the background we have people starting to do things for us, yes.
Well, let's talk about the performances. How many performances will there be, and where will they be at?
So we have 3 performances that are open to the public, and those performances are on Friday, October 27th, Saturday, October 28th, and Sunday, October 29th. The Friday and Saturday are 7 p.m. shows, and the Sunday show is an afternoon matinee at 1 p.m. We are presenting it at the Legacy Center here downtown in Lloydminster. They have a nice little stage, and we have a bit of a unique stage setup. Normally, when you go to a play, you have the action happening up on the stage. We have some on the stage, and then we also have some action happening down on the floor of the auditorium.
And should people be buying tickets now? Does it sell out quickly?
Tickets are definitely available right now.
Okay.
This is part of the Arts Without Borders Festival, so it is a popular item. So if you're interested in tickets, head down in person, talk to Carrie at the Legacy Center, and she will hook you up with those tickets.
Can you tell me a little bit about the Little Theatre itself in Lloydminster? Is this something where you guys do so many plays in a year, or how do you decide how much goes and how many productions you guys do?
So right now, well, the Lloydminster Little Theatre has been around for about 5 years now. We were the Vic Juba Community Players, which had been around for quite a while, more than that. So we've kind of adapted or melded into the Lloydminster Little Theatre. Currently we do about 1 production a year. We are definitely looking to increase that number. We're going to go slow and steady, and hopefully do 2 productions in this season, and then just increase that throughout the following years.
What's the most exciting thing for you when you get involved in a production like this?
What I like as a director is the ability to have a vision, but to also be able to change that vision as we go on. You suggest something to an actor, they take that in, and they offer something back to you. So it's very much a dynamic process where it's a group process, and you're never quite sure what it's going to get. It's like a watercolor painter working with watercolor. It changes. You're not in absolute control of everything. You can only suggest things and see what the actor comes out with.
So if people would like more information on this production, and I know we talked about all the details, but just if they want to get a little bit more information and tickets and that sort of thing, is there one website or some social media they can go to find that all?
You betcha. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Lloydminster Little Theatre for both of those things, and we do have a website, lloydminsterlittletheatre.com, I believe it is. But if you just do a Google search or a search in general for Lloydminster Little Theatre, that information will come up there.
All right, well, Cornelius, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Good luck with the production. Can't wait to see it. I know it's going to be fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery, downtown Lloydminster.
Stephanie Dobson is here with us again this week. Stephanie is a lawyer and mediator at Hanka Divorce Law and Mediation. We're continuing the theme this month of negotiation process. There's always so much involved with divorce and separation. So Stephanie, today we are talking about divorce mediation. So tell me a little bit about what divorce mediation is.
Sure. So as our viewers probably know by now, all of the processes that we do in our office are out of court resolution processes and focus. So today, when we focus on divorce mediation, this is a process where one neutral mediator, being me, will help both parties to resolve their their issues surrounding separation and divorce. So typical topics like parenting, division of assets and debts, and your finances. So it's really a 4-step process. So first we go through your initial consultation, and that's really where I get your story and I get an understanding of the foundation of what's going on, what arrangements you've made already, and what you need to make. Then we do a series of joint meetings, and those meetings usually involve the mediator and both parties, where we actually uncover and discuss all of the issues and actually come to resolution on all of those topics. Then we draft the final separation agreement, and then each of you will need to get your own lawyer to get what's called independent legal advice on that final agreement.
How do families know if mediation is the way that they should be going, Stephanie?
Well, I've got a few statements that I've kind of predetermined to help you, sort of a bit of a checklist of sorts that you and your former spouse can go through to see if mediation might be right for you. Now, the first one, the key is that both spouses are engaged. So both spouses are willing to actually come to that mediation table. Then next, you might say things like, I want to avoid the court deciding my future and my children's future. My children's needs are my priority above my own needs. I want to focus on the future. As we know, with resentment and distaste with one another as spouses, sometimes we focus too much on the past. So in mediation, we really focus on just that go forward point. I want to reduce conflict between me and my spouse. I want quick and easy resolution. Usually our processes are somewhere between 2 to 6 months to resolve. I want costs to stay as low as possible. And that comes because you're involving as few professionals in that negotiation process as possible. So just the one mediator. And because this is the key, I would say that because a lot of times mediation does not involve lawyers, you'll need to be comfortable that with the support of the mediator, that one neutral person, you believe that you're able to make yourself heard and understood.
And you kind of mentioned it in your last answer there, Stephanie, but do lawyers have to be a part of mediation?
Well, there's 2 different ways that we do mediation. So one I call lawyer assisted mediation, and that's where lawyers will be involved as part of the process, and lawyer unassisted mediation. So when we look at these 2 pieces, lawyer assisted versus lawyer unassisted, so lawyers may be involved in different ways during mediation. So for example, you might want to meet with your lawyer in a separate meeting outside of a mediation session. So we've had session 1, we're about to go to session 2, and you say, I really just want to check things over with my lawyer, or I need some more information or advice on such and such a topic. You could certainly bounce things off your lawyer and just have meetings in between sessions. You can also use your lawyer as a sounding board. So you may say, I'm not really sure of what I should be doing or what I should be looking for. Can you help me with some ideas? Or you can actually bring your lawyer to a session itself. And that, of course, we want to try to keep mediation as balanced as possible. So if one party is going to bring their lawyer to a meeting, we usually try to get the other lawyer to come to a meeting. Now, to sign that final agreement, depending on the subject matter of the agreement, a lawyer's signature may actually be required. So for example, with property division in Alberta and Saskatchewan, you need a lawyer to make that agreement legally binding. Now that means absolute 100% line in the sand, no going back. After today, after my signature, my lawyer's signature, we won't go back. There's other topics that don't actually need a lawyer's signature. So sometimes it will depend on the topics as to whether you need that lawyer.
So, how do you get started in this process, Stephanie? I know it seems daunting for some people, but as we've talked about before, it doesn't have to be. So how do you get started?
Yeah. So one of the things we know is that you'll really never know what that process actually is until you go through it. So certainly you can look into it as much as possible. But you need to actually do it to really understand. So one of the first things I recommend is before you talk to any mediators or any firms is to do your research. So on our website, for example, we have a ton of resources with respect to what is mediation, how does it work, how do I know if it's for me? You can also, in our case, you can call and talk to a member of our team about the mediation option. So we give you lots of information to help you to decide whether this is workable for you. Once you've talked to our staff members, then you actually get booked in with me for what we call our free 5-minute call. And that call is specifically about process. So I won't be talking to you about what your actual situation is. I actually just talk about do you know what mediation is? Is this a process that's right for you? Because I don't want people coming in and spending money on a consultation, which is the next step, and waiting for that consultation if they're really not sure if that's going to be the process for them.
All right, Stephanie. Well, great information as always. Thank you so much for chatting with us, and we'll be back again next week.
Yeah, thanks, Stacey.
Taking quickly on the next 3 days here in Lloydminster, a high of 18 and a low of 3 for tomorrow with a mix of sun and clouds, so we'll get that sun back out. And then on Friday, a little bit more sunny with a high of 22 and a low of 8. A low of 8 also on Saturday. However, it should be a bright, sunny day with a high of 21.
There you go. I like to see that weather getting a little warmer.
Exactly. So do I.
And before we go tonight, this is a story that might bruise the egos of some people in Toronto. Canadian rapper Drake may not be the sixth god for much longer.
I've been looking for a long time, trying to figure out, the right place for me to live, where I belong, outside of Toronto. And I finally, after all these years, found me a place.
Well, there you heard it. Drake, who brags about being from Toronto, told a Houston audience that he purchased a home in that city. He will be in good company, though. It's the birthplace of Beyonce, Meg Thee Stallion. Drake owns a multi-million-dollar mansion he built in Toronto in 2018, but who knows if he's going to keep that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care about Drake. Don't like his music. Don't like him. So I don't care where he lives, but I know that he has a ton of Canadian fans. They're going to be a little bit hurt and kind of betrayed, I think, by him leaving Canada.
That was his identity,
Yeah, that is his whole. I think he capitalized on that, being with the Raptors, and then, he capitalized on being from Toronto. So it's kind of a cop-out, him leaving after building his brand around it. But again, I don't really care.
Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of Primetime Local News. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow.